Good afternoon, Turks and Caicos. It's a beautiful Thursday afternoon here in Providenciales. And of course, we got to say a good day to everybody that's got it locked into Tropical Vibes 105.5 and 103.5, the beat of the TCI. And you're into another Patriot Hour. That's right here, coming at you live, right into your homes, your offices, your cars, wherever you may be right now. Last week, Jamal was hosting and I was in the office and I heard this loud talking going on. Went outside the window and there someone was in the parking lot, had the show on, turned up to the loudest. So much love to you guys for showing us much love, of course. We want to thank all of our guests for making it possible. And today we have two very special guests in the studio. Professional young men that I really admire and I look up to. And of course, I know they do their thing. And we got to say a big shout out to all of our young professionals across the TCI, all of our professionals. Let's not be specific in terms of age. But I'll let them introduce themselves, and I'll start with the gentleman to my right. Can you introduce yourself and let the TCI public know who you are?
Good afternoon, everyone, and Turks and Caicos listening to the program. It's a pleasure to be here, speak to you over the radio waves, and I'd like to thank the host, Damian Wilson, and everyone for having me. Thank you. Spread God's love.
And you could give him your name as well.
Oh, sorry. I thought I did. Justin Missick.
Okay.
I almost thought that he meant not to give his name. Kevin Clarke, police public relations officer, and I will continue on the same breath that Mr. Missick stated. It's a pleasure to be here in the midst of these fine men in our community. And, again, it's a pleasure and looking forward to the dialogue we have today.
Okay, thank you guys. And, just to let you know, if you're tuning, we're here on the Patriot Hour and we'll be discussing the effects of crime on the economy with Kevin Clarke, police press liaison, and of course, Mr. Justin. And guys, I'm just going to jump right into it. We've heard so much about crime recently in the newspapers, on the television. I mean, crime has been a prominent focus in the last couple of weeks. So I want to ask you, does crime actually affect economic growth, and how? Because I know that's what everybody's concerned about, whether or not this is going to impact on the Turks and Caicos fragile economy, so to speak.
Yeah, well, I think everything has an effect on economic growth in reality. We do have an obviously fragile economy, and I think really and truly we wind up single ourselves out. The world economy is very fragile. Economies in general are fragile, and a lot of things can upset the natural flow of things. Crime acts like almost like a tax on the economy. It stifles growth. It stifles ambition. In reality, it discourages domestic and foreign investment. It creates uncertainty and inefficiency in the economy. In particular, if you consider areas that an investor might be looking at as a high crime rate, you can obviously see why being not willing to invest in that particular area. Like I said, it discourages investment in certain areas. So I'll definitely say yes, it does have an effect. But why look at it in one vein? Everything has an effect on the economy.
Everything.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I'd like to add is that the effect is like a domino effect.
Mm-hmm.
It and I always use the example. For example, a lady who works at a hotel, for example, who is a housekeeper, and at home she has someone who's probably taking care of her kids. She has to work to pay that person. So, for example, let's say crime against tourists. Let's say she works at a hotel that used to see, for a month. I'll go for a month. I used to see 1,000 guests, returning guests for a month, and something were to happen, and there are crimes against these person and they say, hey, I'm going to stop coming, it's going to affect her. Because now the hotel there is going to say, hey, well, we don't need your service anymore because we used to have, we don't have, the numbers are down. And then she have to go home now, and she's going to tell the lady who watches her kids that, hey, I won't be working anymore, so I'm going to be home now. And then that lady have to go home now. Her kids goes to school. She can't pay the rent. So it plays a major role in terms of the effect, negative effect that is.
Well, I mean, going back to what Justin just said about, crime, deterring investment and so forth. Many people, not just here, but around the world, believe that crime is a natural part of development. So my question is, couldn't we just plan for that, to say, all right, we expect something to happen, so let's put some contingency measures in place in order to mitigate that?
Again, of course, that is something that should have already been addressed of all time, because once you start to think of development now, I think Justin and I were speaking earlier. Once you start to think about development, you're going to start to think about the influx of people. It plays a major part in everything. I believe it's an individual perception has whether development plays a part in crime. Development caused crime to rise or to drop. When we have development going on in any country, everything changes, and development means growth. So if we had, for example, if we had one hotel, now you can have two hotels, you can have three hotels, then you get more people. So more people, more things are happening. So it may lead to crime.
So Justin, I mean, on the back of that, essentially, are we saying that we do believe that crime is a natural part of development?
Well, it's inconclusive. The thing about it is, if you think about Turks and Caicos Islands. I mean, we're a relatively small society. Think about when we can remember that not much, if anything, in provincialities in particular, was still crime. Even in the smallest societies you have, there's still crime. And crime is prevalent in many different forms. And you can think about the smallest examples to the biggest examples, murder, etc. When you consider that, is it a natural part of development? Perhaps. A lot of people ask this question in particular when they considering the actual figures of crime, they increase year over year. So, for example, if we have a population, this is an obvious part of development, which is growth in population. If we have a population this year, 2016 of 50,000 persons, for example, next year we might have 100,000. When we have 50,000 persons, the crime might be 5 crimes a year. When we have it 100,000 persons, it might be 10. It's all relative. Is it a natural occurring part of development? I would say it's inconclusive. I mean, it's relative to the figures that grow every year. Okay.
Well, keeping in mind that it's inconclusive, I mean, many people out there in the TCI public have the perception that crime is growing.
Sure.
And in particular, violent crime. And being someone that comes from the media and has a media background, I know that a lot of that has to do with more media reports, being out there, in particular in regards to crime. So is crime actually increasing? I mean, is this a reality or is it just public perception? And if it is public perception, how do we change that perception?
Well, when you say violent crime, I will categorize that as serious crime. And crime on a whole has decreased by 1% or 18 crimes. Our detection rate has increased from 24% last year to 25% this year. Serious crimes, again, violent crimes, continue to rise with gun being a particular concern, gun offenses being a particular concern. Recorded firearm offenses have risen by 9 reported incidents, whereas robberies are up by 19 recorded incidents, and burglaries are also up by 65 recorded incidents. For 2015-2016, there were 8 murders. 2 of the 8, there are suspects who will appear to court soon, and the other 6 inquiries with some good leads are being looking into. Okay, all crimes have an impact on victims. The more serious crimes can prove traumatized. The Commissioner of Police have already, in fact, the process have started to start to invest in resources to tackle the more serious matters. And you did say what is the impact it has on the economy? It has different impacts. The quality of life.
Absolutely.
It also impacts property value. The labor force participation I just mentioned a while ago of the lady who have to work now. She can't work because crime on tourists and stuff like that. Income spent on security measures, the fear of crime. People have to spend money on. They have to spend money on alarms, cameras for their home. And if they were a victim of crime, for example, someone burglarized their home, they damaged their doors, they stole their property, those things have to be replaced. So it put a dent in the income or whatever budget of that home is. So yes, it does impact the economy and everyone else.
Yeah, I'm gonna just hold it right. I'm gonna ask you a question based on what you just said, right? Now, if we have more reporting of serious crimes and we have increased detection of criminal activity, is it that crime actually on the rise, or is it just
Detection and
more detection and reporting?
Repeat the question again.
All right. Based on what you just said, obviously we have increased detection of crime, increased reporting.
Right.
So is the reality that crime itself is actually rising, or is it that we have just been able to get more in terms of reporting and detection?
We get more reporting, we get more detections. Compared to, like I said, it have decreased. The crime has decreased by 1% on the whole. I mean, 18 crimes. For last year we had, between this year, like 2015, that'll be 2015, 2014, 2015. We have decreased by 18 crimes being reported per year. But in terms of the serious crimes, like the robberies, the gun-related crimes, we have seen an increase in that.
Okay.
So, for example, all the other crimes like the minor offenses and stuff like that, we've had a decrease in that.
All right. Justin, your thoughts on it?
Well, perception is reality at the end of the day. I mean, like you mentioned, the detection is up, which would lead you to think, in most cases, that crime is on the rise. Yeah, you correctly mentioned. I'm an economist by study, not by practice. Let me say it that way. But you correctly mentioned the effects that it has on the economy in terms of property values, quality of life, and those sorts of things. And what is also the case, you'd have to realize, is that when it comes to public, again, perception is reality. So when you have high detection rates, for example, that obviously becomes a problem. When you can't be able to explain why every year it's growing. So.
Okay. Now, based on that, right? And you said, Kevin, that this more serious crime, unrelated matters, robberies, breaking and entering, those things are on the rise, right? So my question is, in the TCI, in relation to those serious matters, right? It appears that we're having somewhat of a contagion effect, or do you think it's not the case, where because one person has committed a crime or several persons have committed a crime and may have gotten away with it for the time being, it emboldens other people to commit similar crimes with the thought in mind that, okay, if John got away with it, then chances are most likely I'll get away with it too. Is that what we're seeing happening in the TCI?
Let me take this one actually, because this goes back to the previous question. As perception is reality again. A lot of people feel as if the crime rate is probably rising. In reality, that the case might be that the detection rate has risen, more people are reporting. But also you have to realize in terms of the serious crimes, as Kevin puts it, serious crime instead of violent crime, it's more likely the case that criminals nowadays have become more emboldened. And I think that they've become more emboldened because they feel that there's no repercussion in the law or whatever the case might be. But I think the case definitely is that it's criminals have emboldened to feel like there's no detection or no repercussion from the law in doing these sorts of crimes, so they can get away with it, and so they commit more. So is it a contagion effect? Yes, I would say so.
That perception, criminal perception. They with the assistance of the public, training and resources, the police will catch up with these criminals. And like I say, the detection rate has shows that it's gone from 24% to 25%, and that shows some sort of progress. In terms of the criminals getting bold, I mean, when criminals certain offenses like aggravated burglary, which is a serious crime and can turn out to be violent. Persons at their home and they're being attacked. So getting brazen, they're getting bold. For them to believe that they're gonna get away with it. They're not. As long as the police officers get the training and the resources and the investigative skills to detect and find out who's responsible, they will be brought to justice. However, though, I will mention when police have done their part, bringing in persons or charging persons for committing crimes, it goes another process now, which is the courts. The courts now would have to, if this person would be found guilty, how do they deal with it? I mean, you find persons, you have people reoffenders, committing crimes. They come out today and tomorrow they commit another crime. Again, that is out of the police hands. So the court have a responsibility to also send a message to other criminals that, hey, if you do this.
In terms of a lot of these crimes where people, like burglary, where people are going into other people's homes and businesses and so forth, I saw someone ask the question, if they woke up and found someone in their home, right, how do they respond to that? Do they take the law into their own hands, and to what degree?
Well, I have a funny story, actually. Forgive me, right?
No, go ahead.
So, literally yesterday, I was talking to a neighbor of mine, and he was telling me, well, he's actually working on my car. He was telling me, well, I said, what's going on? Say, the other day I saw this guy coming, from back in my yard area. Like, he lives in an apartment complex. Says, I know this guy is strange. He never be here, so he doesn't know what he was doing now. So when he see the guy coming out the window, yeah, see jumping over, like, people actually in the house sleeping. A lady and a pregnant lady, as a matter of fact, and he jumped over her, and it was like, whoa, what's going on? He was like, did you even report?
Wow.
The guy literally was like, just give me a break. And I was like, you should have reported it, right? So, I mean, the thing about it is, we have to do our part. Like, I think that's the point Kevin is making at the end of the day. Everyone has to do their part. We have to report. If you feel you don't want to snitch, I think that's the phrase people use these days. You don't want to snitch, man. You have to report, because at the end of the day, it could happen to you.
Yeah. Also, what to do if you're in your home and someone comes in and try to rob them. Firstly, you have to think safety. You have to think the safety of yourself, your family, and your kids. I mean, it's sad to say that things can be replaced. If they want to take television, they want to take the home, then you allow them. Do not put yourself in a situation where you're gonna try to attack them. Sometimes it'll be more than one of them, and it escalates to something else where it reached to a loss of life. At your home, inside of your home, no one should enter your premises. No one should enter your property without your permission. It's trespassing. So at the end of the day, the decision is in your hand when someone enter your home without permission, especially if they come to steal. But remember, you must think safety first.
I mean, that's quite easy for us to say, but I mean, if you're at home and someone enters your house, especially if you're a man, you're a guy, right? Someone comes into your house to steal. You're going to be enraged over the situation.
That's why I said. That's why I said.
Tempers will flare, and it's difficult for you in that moment to say, you know what, I'm just gonna let it go.
Of course, but still think safety first.
Okay.
Because if this man comes in here with a firearm to you, no matter how big you are, you need to think safety first. Whether it look faked, whether you don't think it have, think safety first.
Okay, go ahead, caller. You're on the line.
Good morning to you, Justin. Good morning to you, Gavin.
Yeah, morning.
Morning,
Gavin,
morning.
from a law aspect, I'd like to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
You
Go
just
ahead.
said think safety first. Gavin, the dynamic and the criminology activities that's being transpiring here and the Turks and Caicos have shifted. Criminals now thinking, if I enter this home and this person see me, I'm going to prison. So your life or my life, you understand me? And to be truthful with you, Justin, to be truthful with you, the community of potentiality, the Turks and Caicos Islands, is fed up. Not to be bashful, Kevin, but I have to speak the truth. 90% of the crimes that being reported to the Royal Turks and Caicos Islands has been left on deaf ears. I know the persons that went to the police station, report their burglaries, took the police, show the police everything citizens do. And up to today, justice has not been served. I'm a living testimony with the burning of my mother's house. You understand me? Kevin, many people are in this country are hurt. People have that confidence force anymore. And as a police officer speaking to these issues, how would you all regain that trust with the community, and how do you all look to the community to regain that trust from the community and to heal the wounds? Because, Kevin, you have murders from Dawson, the police officer. Murder has come one of the key elements.
Caller, I'd say let's not get into particular cases. I mean, because those are ongoing matters, and I know for a fact that Kevin wouldn't be able to address any of those. But Kevin, the caller raised a pretty good point. You know, how do we, and I'm not going to say you or the police force, how do we as a country,
As a community.
you know, get communities to trust police and the police to trust communities? I mean, because I myself have said that I feel that community policing hasn't been what it should.
Yes. One of the things that I always tell people, our approach, when you approach someone, that is key. Because I believe if a man is driving his vehicle and he made a bad turn and you had to pull over, do not make it personal. You know, you approach him and you explain to him what he have done wrong. And if it's something that warrants a ticket, then you issue him a ticket. If it's something that also warrants a warning, you also give him a warning. There's nothing wrong with saying, I'm sorry. Saying I'm sorry can change a person's whole perspective about the police force. And if it have happened before in other jurisdictions, like I went to Vancouver, and one of the panel members was a civilian who actually had a negative perception about the police organization over there, and they were able to change it, but simply saying I'm sorry. what the commission working on. For example, what's the word?
Just describe it.
Customer service, customer service courses. We're dealing with customer service. We are going to be doing customer service training. We have police officers who are being trained in specialist units now in order to combat crime. Technologically, we are advancing technologically in order to deal with certain crimes. Dealing with victims, for example, the caller just now, he mentioned he's a victim of a crime that happened at his mom's property. I mean, those things. I mean, any police officer in their right mind will know that these things we must take into consideration. And I could go on that every crime that is reported to the Royal Turks and Caicos Islands Police Force have been taken into serious consideration. However, though, we have when we do our investigations. And when it comes to charging people, you charge someone, and before you could charge a person, you must have enough evidence to prefer a charge on the person. But then witnesses, if they're not coming forward, sometimes the whole case depends on a witness. It depends on one person. It depends on two persons, what they have seen, because at the time of the offense, the police were not on witnesses. When we tell people that if you have any information to please come forward, you don't have to come physically. You don't even have to call the police. A lot of people saying that I'm not going to deal with the police because the police will go around and call your name. Fine, I hear you. We have Crime Stoppers, and we keep telling people about Crime Stoppers. Crime Stoppers, you give the information, you could even get a reward. But it seems like that is not the issue. And I agree with Mr. Roddy with the dynamics of crime, the dynamics of policing and everything all have changed over the past. What I am trying to do from a public relations, probably have seen before, I'm doing my best to keep going on within the Royal Turks and Caicos Islands Police Force, and not as only on crime, but training. We have police officers who are doing good deeds within the community. So those things we try to send out there to the public. We try to give out there to the public. We try to train police officers. When I talk about customer service, how to in terms of responding to reports, to speak to victims of, giving them an assurance that the matter that they're with. So there are a few things that the Commissioner of Police have discussed with me and mine, and these things haven't started as yet, that I would probably not discuss, but we'll be seeing a difference within the Royal Turks and Caicos Islands Police Force.
Well, I completely agree with the call. I know who the call is. Friends. Yeah. I think everyone in Turks and Caicos knows who he is, knows that voice by now.
Pretty much.
I mean, everyone is frustrated. I mean,
exactly.
When it comes to even the smallest instances of crime, it's gotten annoying. It's gotten to the point of annoyance. It doesn't have to be serious crime. But I think, and I listened to all of the things that you talked about, you guys want to implement. I think one of the things that will definitely make a big impact on the perception of people in the community, the various communities, especially the ones that are directly affected by crime.
Yeah.
It's literally just following up with that person the report and saying, here's where we are in this. A lot of the time, people think that the Royal Turks and Caicos Islands Police Force aren't doing anything about the crime or doing anything about the report is because they simply don't know which it is at, or they simply don't know that it's being progressed at this point.
I agree. I totally agree with that. We do give out crime victim letters, giving them an update on the matter that they have reported, and I'm sure that is still happening. That's something that we normally do.
Now, one thing the caller brought up, and I want to raise this question with both of you. The caller talked about the fact that a lot of people feel that if you're not living in a particular area or if it's not in a particular district in the TCI, Grace Bay, for instance, if you live in Five Keys or if you live in Qton, then your report that the actual approach to crime is somewhat to crime prevention is somewhat prejudiced, right? Question: perception or reality?
Perception. Caicos Island Police, our duty is to police the whole Turks and Caicos Islands. That's every island, every settlement. We do know that Grace Bay is an area with a greater influx of tourist presence. Since the economy depends on access to the country, so people might feel like police officers are in the area. As you note that we have a station in that area, and they are responsible for that area. I can't say how many police officers stationed at that area. They are responsible for the reporting to crimes and other incidents. And as you know, the commissioner have I think a vacancy was sent out recently for tourist police. So they will be their duties will be solely to deal with. And because of the importance of tourists, that is why I believe he decided to have that that department that he will be introducing soon. The Royal Turks and Caicos Islands Police, we police every island. Every crime is taken seriously. We don't look at specifics. We don't look at the different areas we live. That is a perception that people have, and that is far from the truth.
Again, perception. I think the Royal Turks and Caicos Islands Police Force definitely has that perception, and it might be a perception. It might not be a reality, in fact, but they do have a lot to do to make up for that. I mean, the thing about it is, the situation you described to me, it seems as if, and obviously we all know the importance of our tourism industry and the fragility of the tourism industry, and we obviously have to look out for the goose that lays the golden egg. But when it comes to community policing in all of our areas, that has to be stepped up as well. I mean, as simple as, and I respect Duncan, I believe he's still in that area. As simple as this is not picking on anyone actually, but as simple as sitting down with the guys, just having playing dominoes or whatever.
You don't respect the Duncan though.
Oh yeah. But I mean, everyone. It benefits everyone to just say hi and.
Yeah, not only him. I believe, like you say, all officers should at least. Yeah.
Okay, guys, we have a call. Go ahead.
Yes, it's me calling back. Kevin, the key problems that the community is having, when you go to the police station, you make a report, they tell you come back to the station to give a statement. You give the statement, the officers them tell you. Sometimes you end up in court, and by the ending of the day, when you reach the judge for your case file to get your statement, even though you're taking the person to court, or your lawyer will have to push for you to get your statement, and that is a key problem that we have. Also, I would like to address this here. Our particular officers, and I'm not being bashful, Kevin, so please don't look at me being bashful at the police force. But there are officers that's in the force that share information with.
Now, call on. Hold on.
I'm not going to be specific, but I'm just going to let it ride right there.
Okay.
However, Kevin, if you look at the unemployment rate in the Turks and Caicos, you look at the lack of spice presence on the ground. It's hard to detect because you have a bunch of illegal, and trust me, they doing what they got to do on a daily basis. But then when the police have to detect, it's hard to detect because you have a bunch of illegal immigrants that you don't know who are committing these crimes. So throw this out to you to ask the commissioner, to ask the premier to enforce the compliance unit to merit them along with spice and immigration so y'all could get back on the road and combat crime harder and combat the illegal migrant situation that is in this country, so it will make less war by the end of the day when you all have to combat crime. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, caller. Now,
Thank you.
I just want to touch on something he said. Now, we can't, I won't go into the area of individuals in the force or officers sharing information. That's something that I know for a fact. We don't have any evidence of that. I mean, but again, that's perception. As Justin said, perception is reality. So again, Kevin, you guys have to do a lot to change that perception. However, the reality is we do have an illegal immigration problem, as do most countries. I would say every country that's next door to our sister. I always like to say our sisters and brothers over there in the Dominican Republic, right? So we do have an illegal immigration problem. That's known. We have it. The Bahamas has it. The Dominican Republic has it. Everybody has it, right? The question is, how do we deal with it? And does most of our crime, and again, this is public perception, most of our crime is committed by illegal immigrants. What impact does that have on the economy?
I don't want to go on air and say most of our crimes are done by illegal immigrants. I don't have that that stat with me to say most of our crimes were done by illegal immigrants. So I won't say that. In terms of dealing with illegal immigrant, now it takes. We have immigration. We takes customs. He did make mention, suggested about SPICE, which is special police immigration customs.
Is SPICE still a reality?
No, that's stopped.
Not at the moment.
Stopped. Yeah, right, not at the moment. Special police immigration customs enforcement, SPICE. Their responsibilities was solely to deal with illegal immigrants, and it takes everyone to deal with this. For example, you living in a yard and you see a person who probably just showed up, or who you may believe that is you as a member of society who knows that it's illegal for a person to be living in the country. I don't see nothing wrong with passing the information on to the police. Again, use Crime Stoppers. Everyone to try help to combat this issue. And then again, with the border controls and all that stuff, they borders with illegal slopes coming into the country. That is another part. We have the who police the areas. We also have the police plane that do aerial patrols. But sometimes the boats come in. I think the radar station is doing a great job in terms of detecting these boats when they come in. But again, it takes everyone to put a hand in to combat illegal immigrants.
Justin?
Well, two points. A lot of the time when we talk about crime, we normally think only about, burglary, violent crime, and the like. But there's a lot of different crime that's happening in Turks and Caicos. Right now. I mean, but the thing about it is, and I say that because a lot of the time when we think about illegal immigration, we only think about in the region, and particularly Haiti, Dominican Republic, and those. Man, come on! There's so many persons here that are actually illegal, and we have to think.
I will agree.
Of course, that's a fact.
I don't want to get into. I almost cringe sometimes when people say a lot of this crime is being committed by Haitians and the like, because that is obviously this is no surprise to anyone. That's the name that comes. That's the country that comes up most when we talk about it. But is that a fact? Who knows? I mean, there's no real statistics on it. That is a perception. So there's statistics. So it has to be a perception. But there's a lot of people here that's illegal. That from Dominican Republic, Haiti, the regional players. A lot of North Americans probably. There's a lot of Europeans. We have to look at those persons too. Are they committing violent crimes?
That is fair to say, Justin.
I mean, Justin, you brought up a very good point. I mean, what I like to call, or what they call blue collar crime versus white collar crime,
Crimes,
and,
yeah.
and blue collar crimes tend to be more visible.
Yes.
Which tend to be more of the things you see with the everyday man, or what we may think with the illegal immigrant situation and those things. Whereas white collar crime tends to be more business suit behind the scenes. So that's a very good point that you brought up. Now
That takes a whole nother show to touch.
But I will ask this now. Recently, we had the taxi drivers protesting, right? And a lot of them complain about the situation with the jitneys. We all know the jitneys exist. I mean, it's not like you can ignore it. We now have the jitneys going into Grace Bay, and tourists are taking jitneys. I've even spoken to several tourists who said, you know what, I prefer to take a jitney than to take a taxi.
Right.
Right? And then you have and again, I have to get into a little bit of politics because again, it's political and it's law enforcement, right? You have what people say is the premier's endorsement of the jitneys by saying they provide a public service, right? Now, this was his words. I don't remember if it was actually said that way. I remember listening to the House of Assembly and hearing something along those lines. People see it as an endorsement, and many of the taxi drivers have said, well, the premier is basically endorsing a criminal act. Is this true?
Well, Kevin, if you don't mind, I see you ready to take this question.
What do we do at the jitneys?
Go on.
I would say, I will not get into the politics aspects of it, but there are public service vehicles. There are public service vehicles out there.
Licensed vehicles we're talking about.
They're the mini
Minibus,
yeah. But it seems as if the people who needs the service, they're not getting the buses. Probably, I don't know what they're getting, because I've asked persons, hey, what do you think? What do you think about the illegal jitney that's going on? Or people know it's illegal, but they still catching vehicles. And the first thing that comes up is it's cheaper. And you find I've spoken to a few ladies who said sometimes at night when they come from work, the jitneys will take them inside to their home. Meanwhile, the other buses will stay on the side, drop them on the side of the road. Anything that is illegal is going against a country's law, and it should not be happening. And if what should be done is perhaps maybe find a way of making it legal, regularizing it, because as it stands right now, it is illegal, and people, like I say, there's a market for it.
Well, let me say this. I mean, I haven't seen a public service vehicle in forever. I mean, I'm talking about a regular, a bus. Now, I'm not talking about the taxi drivers. Okay?
Right. Okay.
I'm not talking taxi at all. I'm talking about a regular public service vehicle that is like a route, basically.
Right.
That takes you from place to place. I mean, the reality is almost everybody in the gigas uses jitneys. And is that word by itself...
I see government officials using jitneys.
Is that word itself a bad... Is the reason why we think jitneys are bad, that word? I mean, what's the difference between a person... But hold on, what's the difference between a person actually picking you up on the side of... If we had a smaller society, for example, which was a regular case back in the day. Let's say I on the side of the road and my friend picked me up. What's the difference between that person? And I'm not talking about an illegal person.
You're talking about...
Because that obviously is wrong. When an illegal person picks you up in a vehicle, then that is obviously wrong. Right. But I'm talking about what is the difference between a regular person picking you up, you giving them $2 or whatever it is, you know what I mean, and that's that.
Well, one of my thing is the reason why I think it should be regularized with signs.
Yeah, it should be a standard. It should be a standard vehicle.
Let's say, for example, you're standing on the side of the road and you hear the vehicle coming on, blowing from far. Beep, beep. First thing comes to mind, hey, this is a jet. But it could be someone else who have criminal intent, who probably wants to take you somewhere to rob you, and stuff like that.
That's a very good point.
That's an excellent point. Yeah. So when it becomes regularized now, when you're standing on the side of the road, and I don't know how the government will, if they're going to do it, how they will do it. If they have two vehicles for one settlement from downtown to up to Leeward to Long Bay or something like that, you would know at what time the vehicle will pass. You would probably know the color of the vehicle. You will also see a sign,
license plate,
You're talking about public transportation
system. Exactly. So right, you now will not be jumping into any vehicles. Then we have,
because I just want to say, I mean, I know one of the big concerns for me and this is from a tourism standpoint. This is again going back, thinking about what happened in the where the girl was picked up, and she was picked up by a car.
Okay.
I can't remember her name.
Okay.
A taxi driver thing. Yeah,
Okay.
we know the story. And Aruba is still recovering from that.
Yeah.
Okay. Think about if someone in TCI, and it doesn't have to be killed or anything like that. Think if a tourist was picked up by a jitney and gets in an accident. We know these jitneys don't have any insurance coverage, okay, in terms of passenger coverage. Whereas the taxi drivers, they have to pay that, and that is a part of their license requirement. They have to have the insurance to cover their passengers. Imagine the problems we could be in a public relations standpoint as a country.
Yeah.
If something were to happen to one tourist, several tourists, in a jitney. I'm just thinking that.
I think you're playing devil's advocate.
It is.
But because at the end of the day, it shouldn't come back on the country per se, because it is the individual responsibility.
But it doesn't in most cases.
Yeah, but until we have, I'm totally for a public transportation
I am.
system. Let me say that first and foremost.
Yes.
But until we have a public transportation system, I don't think. What do you classify actually as an illegal jet? That is hard to classify.
Yeah.
And so until we have a way to classify that in a way that's non-prejudicial or discriminatory, just regular persons picking you up, I could have a show. All you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's right, because we have had instances where police stop people in the vehicle and say, "Hey,
That's my
you
friend.
that's my friend, and give me a ride." We cannot tell persons
you
can't give people a ride in your own vehicle. So now you have persons who are in the vehicle, the passengers are saying, "This is my friend, he gave me a ride."
What's his name? How long have you known him?
I think you can ask questions. They come up with some excuses and stuff.
Okay, let's moving on from that, right? And wrapping things up. I just want to ask you guys my last question. In relation to our security forces, do you guys feel that we're taking security, and this is not just in terms of police, this is immigration, customs, port security, all these things, crime prevention. Do you think we're taking it seriously and putting adequate resources in terms of training, manpower, equipment, all of these things, or do we still have quite a bit more to go?
I personally believe we have quite a bit. We have a far to go, technologically wise. We have persons coming into the country right now. When persons are leaving the country, there's no system in place to stamp them out. So they come in, but you don't know if they have left. In terms of immigration, I think persons come in. Sometimes you have people coming into the country, and immigration give them 7 days or 30 days, whatever the case may be, and then that time would expire. The person is still into the country without probably any legal status. And I think more enforcement needs to be done. All of this comes to security now. More enforcement needs to be done to make sure that these persons have adhered to the instructions by the immigration officers. Because when a person in your country, you need to know what they're about. For example, a man might come into the country, and because he can enter the country without any work permit or anything, he enters, and you tell him you have 7 days to leave, he's still here. He might be a criminal, probably.
But you have to have an address, right?
You have to have an address, but the address still doesn't mean that's where the person is going. I'm just saying. And in terms of police now, again, it comes down to technology. There are a few technological devices that the commissioner, I think he probably have mentioned before, but I'm not too sure. I'm not going to go into details, that he will be introducing soon that will assist the police officers in terms of security and detecting of crime, etc. But overall, overall security, I think there's a lot more to be done. We've been near to the United States, where we have most of our tourists come from. I think we need to be on par. We need to be on par with what is going on, and to be just right behind the United States security measures as much, because their people are coming here.
Okay, Justin?
Well, there's obviously more that can always be done. More can be done. Training is obviously always welcome. In particular, I mean, yes, obviously there's a lot of technical techniques and different things that people use for crime prevention and detection. But I always come back to this point. One of the things that will help the police force immensely is just customer service. Customer service with the public. And that's it. I mean, that's what I can see on it, because I really don't know what techniques they employ for crime prevention and detection.
All right. I personally want to thank you both for coming on and sharing your thoughts today on the issue of crime in relation to the economy. And we explored a few other things, but as part of the TCI Patriots, I just want to say much thanks to you both, and I wish you guys all the best. And of course, any parting words you want to leave with the public?
Yes, I would, like I always say, do not hesitate. If you see anyone or any suspicious activities happening, do not hesitate to call the police. Whatever it is, just call the police. Just last week, someone saw a vehicle in the bushes. That vehicle actually was break down, but the owner pushed it aside. They called the police to come check it out. You never know. So anything that looks suspicious to you, do not hesitate to call the police. And if you do not call the police, please call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-TIPS. That's 1-800-TIPS, and give them information. They are only interested in the information. They will not ask you your address. They will not ask you your name, and sometimes you're eligible to get a reward.
I just want to say thanks to the Tropical Vibes team, 105.5 FM, and to our host Damian. I haven't been a participant in any type of radio show or anything in ages, and it was a pleasure, really. And I thank our one caller for calling in. You definitely made the show a little bit more interesting.
Exactly.
Of course. And guys, to everyone out there in the public, I just want to wish you guys a safe, wonderful, and blessed Thursday afternoon. And thank you for listening. Tune in next week when we will be discussing the MSME, I think it is, with folks from Invest TCI. Invest TCI. So I look forward to next week. I always like money. Think about money.
The way I work.
I ain't complaining. Guys, have a great day. Bye.